PTC Media, bringing quality scouting podcasts to packs, troops, and crews. Find us on the web at ptcmedia.net.
My brother Scouts, I want to remind you in a very few words of what your duty is as Scouts. Apart from merely living in camp, cooking your own grub, and playing Scout games.
Hello, Scouts and Scouters. It's time once again for the meeting after the meeting after the meeting. It's Scout Nation, the podcast, with me, Scoutmaster Brian.
And me, Scoutmaster Sean.
Coming at you, we're going to be talking about a lot of good stuff today. Of course, we got our troop news from troops big and small. We've got a couple of special surprises at the end of the show. We got a contest coming up and some things that we're working on. And the topic for this podcast is, what can you do? Because everybody's been saying, Brian, Sean, you've been telling us what not to do when we cross over and become adult leaders and our sons become scouts. You know, don't do this, don't do that, let the scouts do it. But we want to be involved, so what can we do? So we're going to touch on that a little bit today as well. But first,
what show are we doing?
Episode 5. This is
episode
5 of Scout Nation, the show after the meeting after the meeting after the meeting. And I know that my friend and Scoutmaster up north has been real busy with his troop. So what have you been doing this past, 2 months since last we spoke?
I will go first because I probably don't have as much as you, but I do have some pretty good stuff. With my troop, we lost a boy. And we didn't really lose him. It wasn't like we were out in the woods and he got lost, but some things happened in his home life that he's staying with his mother right now in another state. We're hoping that he comes back in the fall, so we got a little bit of a drop-off there. That's one of the negative things, but for the one negative thing, there's always a lot of positives. We elected a new PLC last month.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was across-the-board election. It went, all the guys who were the leaders are no longer the leaders, and the guys who weren't now are. Basically, it was a unanimous vote on who the SPL was going to be, and they chose him. We didn't even do a secret ballot on it because he was the only candidate, but everybody, said, yeah, this is the guy we want. And with him choosing, then I told the patrols, I said, okay, guys, now you're going to need to pick your patrol leaders. You need to have a vote. Is there anybody who's running? Well, the one patrol had one candidate, and the other patrol didn't have a candidate at all. And I looked at those guys, and I said, I'm not telling you that you have to have a patrol leader, but I'm going to recommend that you get one. Otherwise, you guys might have to join the other patrol if you can't pick a leader.
Ooh. They didn't like that.
No, they didn't. So they stepped in, and the the newly elected SPL and I stepped out of the room, and we talked out in the hallway for a little bit, and he wanted to interview ASPL candidates and troop guide candidates, and another guy who wanted to be a troop historian. We actually took a page out of your troop's handbook, and we had an application per se, and we actually talked about how the interview process would go, and that I would sit in, but I would really have no say in it. I would just help, maybe help him ask some of the questions. So came back in the room, and now this patrol is our veteran group, is the first guys that came through. Well, there's a boy in there, his name is James, and James was brand new, joined in March, and they elected him as patrol leader. And the great thing about these three guys was that we made them sign a form, not really sign a form, but had them basically understand that you're making a huge commitment, and that mom and dad are going to make a commitment to you too.
I think that's very important. So they know what they're getting into.
Exactly. And I also said, all right, elections tonight, Saturday is your training. And they said, what do you mean Saturday is your training? I said, Saturday, 8 o'clock, meet at the Moose Lodge, and we're training until noon. They're like, oh, my God. Got there. I had the table set up. I had the projector out. I had the computers up. I had the notes in front of everybody. I had all the spots laid out, and we started talking. Just went through the PowerPoints, and they just kind of sat there looking at me, and I said, all right, enough of this stuff. Let's stop talking. Let's start doing. Everybody follow me. We went in the kitchen and in the lodge, and I showed them how to make monkey bread in the Dutch oven.
Nice.
Yeah, and, walked in the cooler, and I said, here's your milk, here's your juice, and we made monkey bread. And while it baked, we went and did training for another 30 minutes, and then we did training while it ate. And, I mean, we did the 4-packs of Pillsbury biscuits. So
Yep.
that's 40 biscuits in there. We made all of that. I showed them how to take some powdered sugar and butter and vanilla and milk and make a little icing. And, I mean, they had this huge platter full of monkey bread, and the administrator for the lodge was there, and they asked him if he wanted some. And the whole time, we just went through the training, just pounding and pounding and pounding. Pretty soon it was 11:15, and they said, holy man. And I said, see, it's not all just dry sitting here looking at PowerPoints, and we're having some fun. And we ended up having since the troop guy was, got rehired, I guess, we called him, and the guys had an impromptu PLC meeting, and right then and there they planned the next month and a half's worth of activities. So
Wow.
within a 2-day time frame, I mean, it was just boom, 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 and it was, the guys just snapped to, and the SPL said, this is what we're doing next week, and I think that he's been chomping at the bit for like the last 6 months. I think he may have learned from some of the mistakes the old SPL made, and everybody in the troop was just floored on how things are going. And now, literally within 6 weeks, the Scoutmasters and I, the assistant Scoutmasters and myself, we literally sit in the corner at the lodge and let them work.
That's awesome.
We went from barely being Weeblos 3 to 85 to 90% boy run in 6 weeks. And this was just through training and, listening to Scoutmaster Sean when they have a question. Hey, where's the answer for this? Check your book.
Yep.
And sitting down with them and saying, all right, this is the Senior Patrol Leader's Handbook. This is where this is at. Read a chapter a week. This is how you're going to get ahead. And they all read their books, cover to cover. My leaders got them all on board, too. They finished up some training. They actually went to Appleton, which is about 30 minutes away in a different district. And they went and completed their indoor portion of training, came back and told me, wow, now we understand what you're talking about. This makes complete sense. So within a 1-month time frame, everybody, not only did we get in the same book, we got on almost the same page.
What a difference training makes, right?
Oh my God. And everybody is just, there's just an energy now that everybody's like, yeah. And it's really cool. So, there was a couple things that we did have to step in because we had some fundraisers. We're trying to build up money for the boys and stuff. So we had a candy bar sale. Went pretty well. We did a brat booth at a local grocery store. They're not really familiar with the whole serving the food brat booth thing, but you know what? We showed a couple of them and then let them work. So,
nice.
we did great, and they did great. And everything that we have done, all the seeds have been planted. It's just a matter of watering them now. So they took some of that money. They bought their gear. They bought tents. They bought backpacks. They bought stoves. They got sleeping bags. And this is all within the last month and a half. I mean, you literally can't think, oh, my God, all the dominoes just fell in place. Yeah, they did. So it's been really exciting for me. But I don't think that I've been near as busy as you. I don't even think that I could yeah, you need to tell us what you did because I can't even explain it.
Well, just so everybody out there can stop sending the hate mail to Sean there because he had nothing to do with it. It was my fault we missed last month's episode and last month's chat. Did we have the chat? Maybe we did have the chat. I don't even remember. The whole month is a blur.
No, we canceled the chat. Just
yep.
Tell them why.
Well, see, May for me is a very busy month. I work in television, and it's May sweeps, all the season finales, and all the that's our big ratings period for our newscasts, and we're working a lot of hours, Add to that I live in Indianapolis, which is home, of course, to the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. We're working 60, 70 hours a week, easily. I was at the track 4 o'clock in the morning. I was, not coming home till 7 o'clock at night, and it was just it's long days, long hours, and it's real busy. Then you add on top of that your scouting, right? So we had 2 camping trips. We had a camping trip to Chicago, where we went up to see the Soldiers Field Museum up there, and we spent a weekend in Chicago. And then we spent a weekend in beautiful Camp Buffalo, which is a little bit north of Indianapolis, about an hour and a half or so. Halfway, actually, it's right near Purdue University for our shooting camp out, and it was absolutely fantastic. We had near 70 people, about 60-something scouts, shooting rifle, shotgun, and archery all day long.
Wow.
Stayed at a camp we had never stayed at before. The ranger was incredible. The facilities were incredible. And it just so happens that that weekend we were there was the same weekend as their summer camp meeting. So myself and the outdoor chair stuck around, and they got invited to that meeting. And they're trying to get us to come up there for summer camp. And the way they presented everything, I think we might have to take a visit up there, because the adults loved the camp. The scouts loved the camp, and I'm telling you, the facilities and the staff were, bar none, some of the nicest we've seen in years. As scouters, we can appreciate when you pull into your campsite, and there is literally, and I mean the word in its actual definition, there are actual, I would say, about 10 cords of split wood in each site. And when they showed us the firewood, and I said, okay, so what do we do to replenish? They said, no, that's all yours. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, it's on us. We want you to have a really good time. And so the wood was covered. It wasn't wet. And we used it for campfire. Oh, it was unbelievable. And that was just walking in on Friday night, and it was all that was the bottom, and it was all uphill from there, and not in a bad way, because this was a pinnacle of facilities, and it was absolutely fantastic. So we had the 2 campouts, and we had service. Holy cow, did we do service in May and now partially in June. Mm-hmm. We did a service project for a group that supports the homeless in Indianapolis. We put down 1,500 cardboard cutouts of children representing the 1,500 homeless children that are in Indianapolis right now. So it was kind of an awareness project. And sure. Out of that, a couple of the patrols are now working with that organization to do some service in the future, some collections and stuff before it starts to get cold for that organization for the homeless. They're going to do clothes. They're going to do food. So service spawned service, which is absolutely awesome. We did 3 different flag ceremonies. We did we call it Healing Fields, where we put up 300 full-sized U.S. American flags in a field for Memorial Day. Then we went to our local cemetery, a huge cemetery, and I say we put down a couple of hundred small American flags next to the grave markers of our servicemen and women in that cemetery dating all the way back to World War I.
Okay.
And then after Memorial Day, we had to go back and pick them all up, clean them off, and stash them away for next year. We had 3 Eagle projects, which was phenomenal, and we did our good turn for our charter organization, our Hague Road cleanup, which is they adopt a road and we go and we clean it up for them.
Okay.
Plus, we had 5 Eagle Courts of Honor, 5 separate Eagle Courts of Honor, and each one is about an hour to 2 hours. We had 3 crews leave. One crew went to West Virginia, whitewater rafting and climbing. They're still there now. And 2 crews went to Philmont. My son among them.
Nice.
This is his third trek to Philmont, and he'll be coming back in another week or so. And of course, it was the end of school, and the reason we were so busy, you add on top of all that, and it was my son's high school graduation. So I no longer have a child in the school system.
So you can turn into one of them parents that complains about getting taxed for school system.
I already am. We couldn't have been prouder. My son crossed the stage and got his diploma. One of our Eagle Scouts and fellow troop members was the valedictorian, and we had grandparents and great-grandparents and in-laws and non-in-laws and aunts and uncles and cousins, all gathered onto our home
Nice.
for a great celebration. And then the very next day, we had Nathan's Eagle Scout Court of Honor. And I was able to take the Eagle Oath with my son and pin the Eagle badge on his chest, and it was absolutely fantastic. So my wife and I spent, I think she said, 3 days entertaining 250 people nonstop. So that was my month and a half, which is why we didn't have a show last month. I felt really, really bad.
I know. I'm texting you every night.
I know.
Dude, we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. No, I can do this. I can do this. No, Brian, we don't. You're not going to. Our listeners still like us. They will still like us. Trust us.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen the projects. I mean, we redid
the
the
fence?
bathroom. Oh, yes, I built the fence in the backyard. We, this is the first time a lot of people were coming over the house, and we just had a lot of stuff to do. And it just kept on piling on. Like that honeydew list did not stop. It was nonstop. But we got it all done. A son was graduated, an eagle pin was placed on a chest, hugs and tears and great celebration and tons of family and friends. And, I'm talking a lot of personal stuff, but I will tell you that at every corner that we turned, there was a scouter. Doing our bathroom, there's a scouter helping us with the bathroom and doing the tile work and the shower. Took down the old fence, there's a scouter and a friend who brought over a trailer, took away the old fence. At the graduation party, an hour before, here comes a scouter to help us because he's a cook. He's helping us prep and lighten the grill and just, taking a lot of burden off of our shoulders. Getting ready for the Eagle Court of Honor, dozens of people came over, took everything. I mean, literally took everything so that we didn't have to walk in with a whole bunch of stuff. They took it with them on Saturday night, and on Sunday morning when it was time to set up, they walked in, they said, "Where do you want this?" and we'll take care of it. It was unbelievable the amount of help and love that came from our scouting family to help us get through this month. So that's why I thought I'd mention it here, because I'll tell you what, whether you're listening to this for the first time or you've been with us from the start, if you're involved in the scouting program, you have a family. You have a huge extended family that will do anything for you, and we were just truly blessed and grateful that all that took place. So there you go. I think that's enough troop news.
All right. So everybody in Scout Nation, lay off me.
Yeah, come send your emails to me. It was my fault.
And there was one thing that I forgot to mention too, and when I had my section to speak, was this past Tuesday, or actually last night, my boys from the troop did a flag ceremony for Flag Day at the Elks Lodge. we're chartered through the Moose Lodge, but a member of the Moose is also a member of the Elk contacted me, and it was their first flag ceremony. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know that there was 8 different official American flags.
Oh, nice.
I learned a lot of history last night, and the boys did too. And for anybody else who's out there that doesn't know about flags, any of the listeners, do yourself a favor and look up a proper flag ceremony for Flag Day, and you'll be thoroughly impressed. And if you can, find an organization like the Elks Lodge or a vet group that would like you to do a flag ceremony, because it is really cool. The boys got a lot out of it. And then, of course, after we were done, they ate like pigs because they got free brats, hot dogs, and hamburgers and cupcakes.
Yeah.
So there was a plus to all that. But like you were saying, we got so busy last month that, you know, we kind of had a really good thing going with, we were rolling and the helicopter parents and everything else is going along. And then, yes, life hit us. It's always going to hit us, and we're going to hope that it doesn't happen again. But you know, we're kind of playing off of what one of the shows was, I think show 2 was our helicopter parent show. Isn't that right, Brian?
Yeah, episode 2 was our helicopter parents, where we defined it, and we told we all have stories of our helicopter parents, and we talked about our resolutions and how to prevent them. And if you want to know more about that and get in deeper, jump on back to episode 2, give it a listen. It was a really, really good conversation, and we got a lot of good feedback on it. But those parents, we broke them of that habit. After listening to episode 2, the Scoutmaster, the committee chair, the assistant Scoutmasters, helping Scouters, we break those helicopter parents of their habit, their bad helicopter habit. And then what do you got? Well, you got a parent who now wants to be active, a parent who wants to help. So what do we do with this person? So let's, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first? Because you're a smaller troop, right, Sean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how many active parents do you have?
Well, it's hard to say for me, because all of my parents are relatively active, but they all know they know their roles. I don't want to sound like I'm a big hard guy about it, but my first assistant Scoutmaster, Mark, was the Weeblos Den leader and came over. The committee chair, Bob, and then with this next group of crossover guys, another dad, Tom, stepped in to be assistant Scoutmaster. We do have a treasurer. We do have a secretary. They're very hands-off. We already have a group of parents, and we have actually a couple of Moose Lodge members who have done boards review for us. The lodge is full of old Cub Masters, old Scoutmasters, old Scouts that just loved it when we come in there. So then, you know, we ask them, hey, you want to sit in? So the biggest thing with us, and what I've tried to talk about and work with Bob, and like I was saying earlier, how things have gotten, everybody's kind of on the same page now, and with their training, but there's always a need for help, whether it's, okay, I need you to man the grill for the brat booth.
Right.
The committee chair and I talked about it, and we said, all right, when we find jobs, we need to spell out the duties for the parents. You know, the parents are really easygoing and easy to get along with, but we want to lay the foundation now so that, you know, further down the road, we don't have to deal with a bad habit per se, and then, you know, the usual quotation that follows of, well, we've just always done it that way. Yeah, and you know, we all know that phrase. Oh, that's just the way it's always been done. So Bob and I, the committee chair, when we started forming the troop, and over the course of last year, said, you know what, when we give somebody a job, we want to do it for a couple of reasons. One of those is that it prevents them from doing somebody else's job. Nothing is worse than if you have the advancement coordinator doing the quartermaster's job, or vice versa, because then all of a sudden, those personalities may not click. There may have already been a conflict there, and then you just add a little bit of fuel to that fire. Not looking for negativity here, but it does just stop it from actually happening. and we talked about how defining the role means just that. This is what we would like you to do. Please do this. If you want to do more, please ask us. That way there's no finger pointing, tail wagging, anything else like that.
Now, who do they report to?
It really depends. If it's the assistant scoutmasters, they come to me. Most of the time it's, we try to hold true with, if it's, within the PLC or within the scouts themselves, we try to keep that so that follows up to me. And then I'll go to the CC and talk to him. We also have candid conversations with the SPL and me and the committee chair. And
Right.
the committee chair can sometimes still be a little... He's 5 months removed from being a Weeblos leader, and he was their leader for 5 years.
Okay.
So he's going from, I guess, what would from one side of the org chart to the other side, and he's not... I sometimes got to nudge him back and just say, all right, Weeblos Dad, step back. And he gets it right away. So when it comes to, Teddy's chasing me with a toothpick, Teddy, knock it off.
Right, that's your job. But
Yeah.
but outside of that,
Yeah, I need to earn some money to earn a backpack. All right, well, let's talk to Bob and see what kind of fundraiser we can do, what kind of fundraising we have coming up. Maybe he's got a couple extra cases of candy bars for you.
Right.
That type of thing. So that's where the extent of the scouts go. And we just want people to kind of do their jobs as it stands because, once again, not trying to be negative, want to put a positive spin on this. It places the blame. If something goes wrong, you can, do your roses and thorns, stop, start, and continue on that thing, and you can take that parent aside and say, look, this, if it's something terrible that you have to take them aside for that one-on-one conversation. Oh,
Right.
You really hosed up here. We caught you drinking. Let's just, that's an extreme example. Or something that, you can tease and maybe blow off, and you don't really want to tease a whole lot because then the kids think that it's acceptable too. But it makes you responsible.
Right. So everybody gets it. Well, not everybody, but you find their strengths and weaknesses, and you give them an assignment.
Yes.
You give them an assignment, and then they know what they're responsible for and what they're not responsible for. I mean, I think that's a really good way of running it, and I think that's pretty much the same way we run it because you've got your 9 guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a potential for 18 parents to be involved, give or take. And I got my 134, and I've got the potential of 268
Right.
parents, give or
Right.
take, to find stuff for them to do if they want to be active. So you were talking about some at first some pretty basic positions that we have in scouting, right? Because we have that troop committee outside of the Scoutmaster and the committee chair. You were talking about your advancement chair, your treasurers, and the likes and those likes. We've got those, your secretary, and then we have, because we're fortunate enough to have a lot of people who want to be active. We broke it down even more, and we've started giving scouts someone to go to outside of the Scoutmaster, outside of the advancement chair, stuff like that. One of them is our Life to Eagle coordinator.
Okay.
That's how I got started with the troop, and it's just one person who understands all the ins and outs. And once your guys start to get older, you'll be dealing with this a lot. The ins and outs of the Eagle process at the district level, right? Who they got to talk to get district approval, where they got to go to drop off this book, where they got to go to do this, when are they going to get talked to, when do they get the phone call for their Eagle board, where the Eagle board's located, what is the process and the red tape as much as I love the BSA, they like to throw up a lot of red tape sometimes. And we're fortunate enough that it's a position that was created way back when, and we can put somebody in there who's an Eagle Scout, who we can give that contact to, and who won't be overwhelmed like, say, the Scoutmaster or, say, the advancement chair. We break it down even further. We have a Eagle Quest coordinator. That's the guy that works with any scout who is scout to first class.
Okay.
Right? He's pretty much in charge. He works hand in hand with the troop guides, because the troop guides are working on those first years and those guys who need first class, and the Eagle Quest guy is the guy that has to deal with the paperwork. So I print out a report, I send it to the Eagle Quest guy, and the Eagle Quest guy meets with the troop guides and says, hey, okay, look at this. We've got 10 guys that need to learn how to do the bowl-in, or look at all these guys that need a 5-mile hike. You know, we got a camp out coming up. You think that might be an opportunity for you guys to do something with that? And the troop guides make a run for it, and they do their planning and what they need to do, and they get it done. But there's a resource. Once again, it's that resource, not doing, but a resource for the scouts, which is a huge help for me.
You have more resources, I guess, than I would. You know, I talked about the people that I have on my committee, but you know, you have a larger committee with more specialized jobs. Right now, we all kind of wear the same, the hat.
Right.
We don't have a true advancement coordinator. Do we need one? I would say no. Are we going to have one coming within the next year? Yes, without a doubt. I already have somebody pegged. But, you have an advancement chair, Lights Eel coordinator, treasurer. We all have treasurers, obviously, but you have other specialized groups that can help out, and you were talking a little bit about that. You guys,
we actually have our outdoor chair and our treasurers are both co-positions.
Okay.
So we actually have 2 treasurers, and they're able to, one treasurer works on recharter, right? And that's almost a full-time job in itself. That one treasurer takes care of recharter and popcorn, while the other treasurer takes care of the monthlies and works with the outdoor coordinator, paying for the camp out, paying for summer camp, making sure that our ins and our outs are all balanced and everything. And same with our outdoor chair. Our outdoor chairs actually happen to be, at this point, husband and wife, but in the past it wasn't. And they'd rotate. So the one outdoor chair would be working on the April camp out, while the other outdoor chair would be working on the May camp out.
Okay.
So, and before we start getting all the, it's the scouts' job, it's the scouts' job. Yes, the scouts plan the camp out. The scouts do all that. They set the schedule. They take care of that. But in this day and age, there's a lot of things that need a signature.
Well, tour plans, make sure the financing is in order.
Make sure the tour plans, seat belts, transportation, tour plans, deposits, just stuff like that. That they got to make sure that the right adults are signed up because of training. Mm-hmm. Right? If we're going on a swimming camp out, which we're doing this weekend, we got to make sure that we have enough adults there who are trained in safe swim. You got to make sure if we're going climbing that we have maybe 1 or 2 people that have taken the climbing training available for BSA, Climb On Safely. Last month we did shooting. We did a shooting camp out, and although it was an excellent staff, we got to make sure that we had a scouter that was also NRA BSA certified. And that way, when we had a couple of guys that wanted to bring their own bows and stuff, that it was transported properly and secured before we can get it back to the range when we got here. So, there's a couple of things that, yes, I just don't want the flames to start and the forum posts to start blasting, but there are things that adults have to do. It's one of those things that is just now a fact of life for scouts. We can't, like when I was a scout and my dad was a scoutmaster, we can't all pile in his VW bus with just him as the only adult and drive off wherever we want to drive off to and camp for a weekend. That just doesn't happen anymore. So you need some adults there to do some certain things. We have
Well, and that's what this show is about. Tonight's episode is about, anyways. Is what can you do with the quote unquote helicopter parents that really insist on getting involved?
Right.
That's what we're here for, to find them a job. And these are some of the jobs that are available, whether it's a small troop or a large troop.
Right.
The jobs are abundant. And yes, the boys run the troop, and they run the meetings, they run the campouts and stuff like that. But I don't see too many 12 and 13-year-olds being able to plan the logistics for how you're going to get 80 people to a campout and
pull 2 trailers and get the propane gas tanks filled up for the lanterns and the stoves. So, well, let me give you a couple of examples, because we are a larger troop. So I do have we are truly blessed, and I am very fortunate that we have a lot of adults that want to participate. So here are some things that other troops may or may not have, and anybody out there in Scout Nation that's listening that has some people that are just itching and raring to go, and you don't have anything for them, here's some examples of what we're doing. One of our things that have really, really worked well is our adult quartermaster. Back in the day, the adults took care of everything, right? The adults loaded up the trailers, they packed the tents, they brought out the coolers and the food boxes, and they went through the patrol boxes and the cook kits and all that stuff. Well, that doesn't happen anymore for us. Every patrol has a quartermaster, and we have a senior scout quartermaster, and we have an adult quartermaster. So now we have somebody who's outside with the scouts and the senior youth quartermaster, loading the trailer, making sure the tents are there. After the camp out, they set up the tents, they check them, and he's just there. Our adult quartermaster, he's there to make sure that they load the trailer properly, because, you load it incorrectly and you've got a danger on the road, right? He's there so that when the senior quartermaster has a question, he can help, right? He could be a little extra muscle to try to get that zipper unstuck that's broken, or he can show them how to fix a tent pole and then give them the bag of all the broken tent poles and
right.
Just help them out. He is, once again, that resource. We have a great program that we use that's called the Patrol Advisor. Each patrol has a patrol advisor. Now, we got into a little argument with our facilities people, not our charter organization, but the facilities people insist that, if they're in their room, they have to have an adult. And we tried to explain that, well, this is Boy Scouts, sir. Excuse me. It's the scouts that run the meetings, not the adults. But they want an adult in every room, because apparently you can't trust children, quote-unquote children. And they're not children, they're scouts. But, we want to make sure that everything is hunky-dory, so we have an adult in each room. And that's called the Patrol Advisor. And the Patrol Advisor is sometime a parent of that scout in that patrol. And a couple of them are not. They're just adults that want to be active, and their son is in a different patrol, but their son doesn't want them in their room. How many times do you get that, right? Come on, Dad, let me do my thing. I don't need you hanging there. And I think it actually works out really well, because you have parents in rooms without their child, and they get that separation that we always talk about, that you're not there for just your son, you're there for the whole troop.
Yes.
And what that patrol advisor is when I meet with them, I'm just like, you're like the Scoutmaster's eyes. I go, you're helping with the myth that the Scoutmaster knows all. He's got eyes in the back of his head, on the side of his head, and his feet, and stationed all over the place because the Scoutmaster always knows what's going on. I said, so you guys can help me out. Not only can you be my eyes, if you see something that you think that we need to address, you can come talk to me, and then I can go to the SPL and say, hey, why don't you go talk to the patrol leader of Raven Patrol? It sounds like he might be having some troubles keeping the guys on task, right? Excellent way for the patrol method to be used. They're also a resource right there and then for that patrol leader, especially the younger guys, right? So the younger guys are trying to lead the meeting, and they get sidetracked often, and there you have a patrol advisor who's kind of sitting there, and instead of taking over the meeting, because our patrol advisors are trained, he could kind of lean over and whisper to the patrol leader saying, hey, remember, didn't you guys want to talk about the menu for next camp out? Or didn't you guys want to practice a skit? Or aren't you supposed to be thinking about new flag designs because we're doing patrol flags now and we need a new patrol flag? And then sitting right back and letting the patrol leader go, oh yeah, hey guys, come on, let's get that skit done, right? So an excellent opportunity for some of these adults to get involved. And one last thing I'll throw out there because I'm bogarting the conversation. You could jump in here, Sean. We just started this as a menu checker.
I'm just listening to you.
Oh, well, no, I know. I know I've been talking for a while, but we just started this as it's a menu checker. And what we used to have complaints of scouts coming home sick because lunch was Skittles and Oreos, and dinner was hot dogs with 7 different kinds of potato chips. And then that's all the kid ate was chips and Skittles and candy and sugar all weekend. And when he comes home on Sunday, he's getting sick. So what we do is the Grub Masters, the guys who design the menu for each patrol, comes up with a menu and then brings it. We actually have a woman who's a nutritionist. And we'll bring it to them and show it to them and say, hey, this is what the patrol came up with. And they can look at it and they could give advice. And they jump back to their patrol. And again, which is what I love, it's not, okay, well, you know what, that looks okay, but you guys need to make monkey bread, and you guys need to do, a string bean casserole. They just look at it and they check it, and then they say, hey, have you thought about, do you have enough vegetables in there, you think? Did you guys think about maybe some fruit for lunch instead of what you got there, or in addition to? And it gives those guys an opportunity to learn and to go back to the patrol and say, okay, well, here's what we got, but maybe we need to change a little bit here or a little bit there. And they get a nice balanced menu. I'm going to bogart a little bit more because we just got an email about a week or two ago, and it was from our local OA chapter. Our local Order of the Arrow chapter wanted to start a new position in the troops. We all have our OA reps, and what the OA chapter wants to do, the local lodge, is they want us to have an adult Order of the Arrow rep. Now, at first, I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, what are we doing here with this? Because you've got, when we do elections, when we do OA stuff, the OA always comes in, the youth come in, and they take care of everything. Well, what they wanted to do is they want to form, I'm not going to say like these mini lodges, but they want to form a, what we're doing, is a resource in-house for all of the arrowmen of the troop. So that this OA rep would go to lodge meetings, but they will have their own meeting outside of the regular lodge meeting where all the scouts are, and the adults will meet and find out what's going on from their perspective and their end, and then they will be a resource so that when they come back to troop meetings, the youth OA rep will have somebody on hand and in-house that will be able to help them out in case they forget something, or if they're forming a ceremony team and need some help with costuming and whatnot. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was a really, really good way to incorporate adults into a really, really big youth program, because there's a lot of troops out there that aren't youth-led programs, but the OA is not one of them. The OA is so youth-led, it's not funny. I mean, it is the model for what troops should be based on the way they run their lodges.
Sorry, look at Scout Dude, Kevin Montano.
Yes,
I mean, he is just OA. He bleeds red, but yeah, we all bleed red.
White and red.
Yeah, he is. And you talked about all these specialized jobs, but you know what? It's really nothing more than just actually taking a job that somebody's probably already additionally doing. Menu checker. Doesn't somebody just do that? Now you have somebody who's actually doing that job.
And they feel like they're giving back.
Yeah,
and it gives the youth, it gives the scouts in the troop a point person to go to, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to ask that question, oh, who do I show this to? Who do I show this? They've always been showing it to, Mrs. Barrington. That's who it is, and that's who you go to. And, that's on you. That's your responsibility. Again, it's going back to that 8 methods of scouting, number 5, association with adults of good character. And they're taking the initiative. It's not the Scoutmaster saying, here, talk to this person. It's not that person walking around saying, you need to talk to me, you need to talk to me. It's them going to that person because they know that they need to get it checked, and they're taking that initiative. And here's a 13-year-old talking to a mom that's not their mom about food and nutrition and prices and name brand Oreos versus, off-brand Hydrox cookies and all that stuff.
And, it's a resource. It's a live in-person resource. There's, we have our scouting forums, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, but talking on the phone or talking to another person or actually physically going around a table, it's a resource. The boys could find these things out just as simple if you had a book on nutrition and proper meals sitting on the shelf and they went over and read it for themselves. Having Mrs. Barrington or whoever it is right there to say, you know what, macaroni and cheese is fine. Maybe throw a can of peas and a can of tuna in it. Help round out your meal and serve it with a piece of bread. Hey, there you go. It's those types of little things that scouts are going to, like you said, they're going to get information out of it. It's going to help with that adult interaction, and it's going to make the adults feel that they have something to do, whether it's they never have to feel obligated to be there at a meeting or on an outing, but in the same sense, they have that sense of importance when they are at a meeting because they're there thinking, okay, well, tonight's we're going to go through menus, so now I should have to be there because they need my wisdom.
Yes.
And it still keeps that separation between the scout and the parent. You have the patrol advisors in the room with the scouts, and it's not dad and his son and then his son's patrol. It's it's Mr. Jones with the bear patrol. It's Mr. Smith with the Cobra patrol. So having those jobs and helping define those roles, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Now, Mrs. Barrington is the dietitian person?
Yes.
Okay. Now, everybody knows Mrs. Barrington is a dietitian, so she's going to be the quote-unquote troop expert on nutrition. You don't have Mr. Jones who decides to step in and say, oh, no, that's not how you do things. That's not how you cook.
Right.
And everybody understands what their role is. And when a mom a new mom says, "Oh my goodness, you let the boys plan their own menus." I'm just so worried that all he's going to eat are ramen noodles and Skittles all weekend. No, Mrs. Barrington will help guide them through the proper choices in menu if they should have any questions. And we do review the menus to make sure that it isn't full of ramen and Skittles.
Right. Exactly.
So, we may get some calls about it saying, "Oh, that's a little delving too much." But you know what? Scouts are scouts. Broccoli tastes horrible to most of them. Vegetables are not, bacon is a vegetable to them. Bacon's my favorite vegetable too, but not anymore. And we can get on that whole turkey bacon discussion.
That's all right. It's in my fridge.
Slowly fried in pig fat.
Yeah, but it gives a nice balance. It gives a buy-in for the adults, and there's nothing worse than scouts or parents that like to play off each other. We all have. I mean, I have young nieces and nephews between 3 and 7, who like to go right through the family tree, because they'll go to mom, and mom, can I do this? No. Okay, then they go down the line. Dad, can I do this? No. Okay, Uncle Brian, can I do this? What did your mom and dad say? Oh, I don't know. All right. Well, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then they're doing it, and then, well, what are you doing over there, yells Dad. Oh, well, Uncle Brian said I could, right? So you're undermining authority, you're causing trouble,
Yep.
and then the kid falls off the top of the monkey bars, and then there's all sorts of issues that develop from there. Same in a scout troop where a scout is trustworthy, loyal, and all that stuff, but deep
Everybody
down,
forgets
a scout's a kid.
Point.
Yeah, a scout.
Everybody forgets the 13th point of the scout law.
A scout is hungry?
The 13th and 14th. A scout is mischievous and devious.
You know what? Because they're boys.
Because they're boys.
And if they want something bad enough, they'll find somebody who will say yes. And this kind of helps that out, where they see that there's an authority, and some adults who like to jump in. Those Weeblos 3s who like to jump in, or, well, my son only drinks Fiji water, so that's what we're doing, and I told him he could do that. Well, you know what? That's not your place, sir. That's somebody else's position. But you know what? Since you've got some money, you obviously know how to handle money. Hey, come on over here, because we got some fundraisers that we need to start planning, and I think you might be the person that can do it.
That's right. And that's another thing too. A job that they may have done in Cub Scouts may not be the same job that's going to suit them in Boy Scouts.
That's true. That's very true.
Because, the Snackmeister in Cub Scouts may not be the person you want to have for, your grub checker in Boy Scouts. The Snackmeister is the one that fills the kids up with Hydrox cookies and root beer and sends them home. Is that the person you want checking the menu when you see Skittles and ramen? Oh, that looks good.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's warm, and you should be getting some kind of fruit. So,
there's a place for everybody.
There's a place for everybody. Something that we do is, with our troop, and now that youth protection is not required, don't get me wrong, it's required. But now that youth protection, you do not have to be a registered leader to take youth protection. You can just go onto the myscouting.org, take it, print off your certificate, and understand it. You have to do that before you can even fill out the application and get it signed off by your charter org rep and turn it into the councils. We ask that our adults and dads and anybody who wants to go on a camp out, they take that.
We do too.
It's you call it youth protection training. I call it CYA training. Cover your aft end. It's you have to cover yourself, and that way it could be kind of an entry level thing to get them into a larger role,
yep.
Or it's just a way to cover your liabilities.
I'll take it one further, not to interrupt, but my son, like I said, just left for Philmont. He's 18 now. Now, at Philmont, you can go as a youth up to age 20, I believe it is.
Okay.
And he is going as a youth so that the makeup of the crew is enough adults and enough youth, because you have to have X amount of youth and X amount of adults on a Philmont crew. However, since he is 18, even though he signed up as a scout, he took youth protection training and brought the certificate with him just in case. Just in case. Because you never know, because they might get there and they said, oh, well, you know what? You need another adult. Okay, well, here's our adult. He's 18, he's registered, and here's his youth protection.
And that's a good call. That's a really good call, because there's just the what-ifs. Things can happen, and all of a sudden you need him to be there. You know, they would need him to be there for something, and he can step into that role.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, since we're talking about it, you know who made the call? Our high adventure coordinator.
Nice.
Here's a guy who was outdoor chair. He's got 2 sons in the troop. He wants to be active, but he didn't want to be that active anymore, doing all those things with all the camp out every month. And he said, you know what? I like high adventure. I know the places. I know the camp outs. I do paperwork. I can understand that. I like that stuff. He's a lawyer. And that's what he does. So he helps us plan our high adventure. And if people want to start a high adventure, they want to go somewhere like we did the White River, they talk to him. He puts them in contact with the right people, and away you go. And there's a man who wants to be a scouter, wants to be active, and is playing to his strengths, and he helps out the troop. The troop is stronger with that because we can do 1 or 2 high adventure trips a year, where there's some troops that do a high adventure trip every 3 years. Because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of, a lot of paperwork and all that. But here's this guy. He knows how to do half that stuff already. And when a second-year parent comes in and says, hey, we want to go to Gettysburg, not so much a high adventure trip, but it's more than 500 miles away, and we want like 15 people to go, he can help them out and just say, all right, here's your steps, A, B, C, and D. Makes for a great, great opportunity for the troop, and a great adventure for the guys that actually get to go. So,
and speaking of, you know, the high adventures and the Philmont and everything, you know, it's getting to be that time.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have let me tell you before you get into it, because this will go right into it. We had one dad who, little less than a year ago, we were talking about Philmont, and he says, I'm going to go. But he looked at the sheets, and he saw what he had to weigh, and he was 50 pounds over his limit. So he started a program, and Sunday I got a text from my son that he stepped on the scale at not my son, but this dad, stepped on the scale for the official weigh-in, and he was 2 pounds under the weight limit.
Nice.
So he lost 52 pounds so he can get to Philmont.
And why is that important?
Well, it's important because a scout should be physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And I know at least 2 Scoutmasters that are a little lacking in the physically strong portion of the Scout Oath. I know I'm one of them.
I am also the other one. There's 2 Scoutmasters on this show. So, all right, folks, here it is, and I know we've been talking about it for weeks, and I've been kind of leading everybody onto it. We've been talking, and it seems as though there's been a trend on Twitter, and mine actually started with my wife. My wife has now lost close to 40 pounds since March.
Wow.
And I don't know really what her goals are, but she's enjoying herself. She's, hate to say it like this, a bit more pleasant to be around. she you know, carrying the extra weight makes you hurt. So with her motivation and knowing that I want to be on staff for 2013 Jamboree.
Excellent.
Whether Scoutmaster, Assistant Scoutmaster, and looking at my paperwork and the new medical forms. I'm a skosh overweight, so I started a plan and thought, you know what, we should all start this. Well, National put something through, and a lot of other scouters on Twitter started going through with it. And what we've done is, here at Scout Nation, we've reached out, and we got a nice little war chest full of some prizes.
That we do.
We do. We've got some books from Mark Ray, and when I say books, we have, Mark Ray is actually a sponsor of Scout Nation. We have the Scoutmasters Other Handbook. Got a few copies of that.
Great book. Every
We've got
every Scoutmaster and anybody who wants to be a Scouter, who wants to be an adult leader in Scouts, needs to buy that book. Definitely needs to buy that book from Mark Ray, and I believe it's eaglebook.com. And it's the Scoutmaster's Other Handbook. Purchase it. However, if you're not ready to purchase it, if you stick around for a couple of weeks and step into our contest, you could win one of those books.
I also have from Mark Ray a couple copies of the Eagle Court of Honor book too.
Now, from personal experience, I've had that book for years, and like I said at the start of the show, not only did we do 5 Eagle Court of Honors in the past 6 weeks, but I did my son's Eagle Court of Honor, and, well, actually, he did it because I have my own personal copy of that book, and I handed it to him, and I said, you've been to, his Eagle Court of Honor was the 25th Eagle Court of Honor that he's attended, and I said, you've been to enough of these, you could probably do it in your sleep, but here's an excellent resource. Go through it, let me know what you want, and he created an incredible program using the Eagle Court of Honor Handbook, and also Mark Ray's website. He's got some PDF sample scripts on there and everything. Mm-hmm. So an excellent, excellent resource.
And I've got from Rob Ferris, Ted Knight, Harry Wimbrow, and Joseph Durrell. Boy, I sure hope I didn't slaughter those names. But those guys are affectionately known as the 4 guys, the 4 Eagle Scouts that wrote Working the Patrol Method. It's a Scout Leader's Guide to Youth Leadership Training. I have 4 copies of that available too.
Nice.
Those guys sent those in to add to the prize stash.
And I got to direct a message, and I know you did as well, that we've got a T-shirt or 2 coming from Class B.
Yep. And we have some Scout Nation Fit Club merchandise. And for Scouter Adam, yes, we have patches. So let's run down what we got for prizes. We've got the Scoutmaster's Other Handbook. We've got the Eagle Court of Honor. We've got Working the Patrol Method. We've got T-shirts from Class B. And we've got Scout Nation Fit Club merchandise. So we have all that stuff to win.
Now, how do we win that?
Well, let me tell you, we folks don't think about this in a different way. Scoutmaster Brian and I are still a part of PTC, but we're working on just our own blog website because we want to have a contest that's kind of dedicated to all of Scout Nation. So what we have here is we laid down a few rules, real simple stuff. This isn't about the prizes, although I think they're pretty good prizes. This is about getting fit and staying fit. Whether you have a goal because you want to get to Philmont, whether you have a goal because you want to get to Jamboree, or whether you just have a goal because you want to be a healthy scouter and stop preaching about being physically strong and fit and everything else. Yeah, be it. Don't preach from the chair. Get up and get out there. Go run. Go jog. Go ride a bike. Do the Wii Fit, do some yoga, go boxing, do whatever makes you happy. But what we want to do is we're putting together a contest, and here's how the contest is going to work.
All right, so
on Monday, on the Scout Nation website, there is going to be a form, and we'd like you guys to fill that out. There's going to be your name, email, and Twitter. And a couple other questions out there that are optional, but there's a couple of questions that we're going to ask to be required so that we can keep track of who's in this. There's also going to be a page called the Scout Nation Tracker, Scout Nation Fit Club Tracker. And there we're going to ask you that on Monday morning you enter in your weight. And we ask that you do that before 12 noon Central Standard Time. And then on Friday, we ask that you enter your weight in by no later than midnight Central Standard Time on Friday night going into Saturday. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do percentages. So if you have the best percentage
Of weight loss.
the best percentage of weight loss, because if you're just starting and you change from being sedentary and eating at McDonald's all the time and all of a sudden you're eating, healthy stone ground wheat flat outs and you're running 2 miles a day, you're going to drop weight so fast. So we're going to do a percentage. And if you have a way to weigh yourself, and that's why English is so hard to speak, you can enter in decimal points up to 1/10%. It will round up if you put down, 285.16. It'll round up. If you do 285.12, it'll round down. And the biggest percentage at the end of the week will be entered in a monthly drawing for one of the prizes that we talked about.
Excellent.
So if you rock it for a month and you're the winner every week for a month, no reason to even do a drawing. What we'll do is we'll shake a dice and we will pick one of the prizes and we'll number the prizes. And we'll take a picture of the numbers of what the prizes are and shake a dice, and that's what your prize will be. Drop us a DM on Twitter, drop us an email, and let us know what your address is. We'll toss it in the mail and away you go. There's no limit as to how many times you can win.
Nope.
There's no,
It's
if you rock it
for the next couple of months.
If you rock it every week for 3 months, buddy, you got three different prizes from Scout Nation.
Exactly.
There's no limits on who can or can't enter. So this contest is open to all PTC employees.
Nice.
Or hosts. So anybody in Scout Nation.
Now, Sean, that's not it. That's not the only thing we're doing. We got those monthly prizes. However, on that sign-up sheet, the reason we're asking for your name, your address, and your Twitter is we want to get Scout Nation hashtags blowing up on Twitter. So what we're going to do is for everybody that signs up, we're going to form maybe some groups, and we might do some mass emails, but we're going to be offering some weekly challenges. We got a couple in the bag right now. They're not going to be difficult. They're not going to be outlandish. Well, actually, they might be outlandish. But each week we might throw out a little challenge to help you guys motivate yourselves. We want to start some conversations out there on Twitter and get us talking. What we're not going to do in the Scout Nation Fit Club is we're not going to say, hey, eat this, exercise that, use this program, don't use that program, eat only, red meat, only eat sugar, or do Atkins, don't do Atkins. That's not what we're here for. Because you know what? What works for me may not work for you.
That's right.
Just like we always say, what works for you, I might not have even thought of, and I might want to give that a try. So we are all over the place. We are both, I know Sean and I and a couple of other scouters out in Scout Nation are on MyFitnessPal on the Android phone.
A Sooner.
Yep.
I'm a Sooner fan, Darren Cranford.
Darren's on there.
Scoutmaster Phil.
He's on there.
Isn't Scoutmaster Jim on there too, from your neck of the woods?
Jim Thorne or Thorpe? Yep.
Yep, he's on there.
Now I also know that there's
Scouter Jeff.
I
don't know if you saw Scouter Jeff's post.
Oh, is he on there too?
Yeah, even though he's not active in Scouts anymore, he's hit the 25-pound club.
Excellent.
And he's 2 notches on his belt.
That's fantastic. So this is what we want to do. We want to motivate you and ourselves by offering up a monthly prize, and that's all that is. But
what do you think about this? Maybe we throw the weekly challenge winner into the drawing for the month.
There we go.
There you go. And you know what, folks? If you want to put down that on Monday you did 10 push-ups and on Friday you did 50, go ahead. You're a scouter. Be honest. Be trustworthy.
We'll have some good challenges, and
yes,
we're going to get the conversation started. However, we're just starting it. You guys got to join in. I need help. I'm telling you that up front. I need help. So I've tried everything, and some things work for me, and a lot of things don't. And I like to be. I get better motivation when I'm with a bunch of other people. So let's start the conversation.
By the way of getting in on this thing, now I saw Tico in January, the National Commissioner, Tico Perez. I saw him in January. Now, just recently, the summit's been posting YouTube videos. And I don't know if you saw in that video, but I'll bet you Tico's dropped at least 35 to 40 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, he's looking great. And he flat out says right in that video, look, brother, you don't make if you're not below a 30% BMI, you're not coming. Sorry. Them's the rules.
Yep.
And
so,
I'll tell you what,
it's good.
I want to get there.
It's a great program that is sweeping Scout Nation, not just us, BSA, the guys who are doing 100 days of scouting. They've got 100 days strong. I got a couple of local friends here that are participating in that, and you can participate in whatever you want. You can participate if you want to do 100 days strong and you want to do Scout Nation. We just want to join you. We want to hear what you're doing because I'll try anything at this point. And most of all, we want to share our successes.
Yes. And I'll give you the website address because the site is up. It's still, we're still working kinks out. It is scoutnation.wordpress.com. Scoutnation.wordpress.com.
And right up there on top, it says SNFC Rules, SNFC Tracker. Click on any one of those. That'll take you right where you need to be. We're going to post all this same stuff on Twitter. We'll post it over at the PTC Media Forums, so you guys can jump on over and join us, please. I'd rather have more people on the Scout Nation Fitness Club than people listening to the podcast, because I think it's that importance.
I want Weight Watchers to call us and say, "What did you guys do? You took all our customers." I don't want to go that far, but you know what? We want to turn it into what's a great recipe. The big joke was the turkey bacon. What kind of recipe can you still cook that's healthy, nutritious, keeps you within your, what your goals are and everything for when you're on the trail? Those types of things. What's working for you? We want to know. So, like Brian was saying, please, folks, get on board. It always helps when you got a friend. And albeit that we're a big dysfunctional family, we all depend on each other.
That we do.
It's, through Twitter and, through texts and dropping phone calls and stuff like that. And Facebook and everything else. Let's get Scout Nation to shed some pounds.
There we go. All right, so look for all this coming out. It's on the website. If you're listening to this podcast now, it's already out there. We're starting July 1st is the beginning of the official first week of the Scout Nation Fit Club, and the end is never. Let's keep this going because I've gained and lost 100 pounds several times, and I'll tell you what, once you think it's over, that's when the weight starts coming back. So I'm thinking we're just going to keep this the Scout Nation Fit Club going. We might run out of prizes, or we might not.
I don't think we'll run out of prizes. I think we can keep enough interest going that we'll always have something in the prize vault.
Right. There's always something new around the next corner in fitness and health and keeping everybody motivated and honest, and that's what we're doing here. And we really sincerely wish you join us. So with that, I think we are getting ready to wrap this up. I know for a fact that the wife is not calling for ice cream today, is she, Scott?
No.
Sean.
You call me Scott. Okay.
I think I just called you Scott. Why did I do that?
All right, Brad. Scoutmaster Brad. And this is Scoutmaster Scott and my co-host Scoutmaster Brad. But
It's
anyways,
late here
she is not calling for ice cream lately, though. But you know what? She is calling for frozen yogurt, so it is time. I thank you for listening. You can find me at Scoutmaster_Sean on Twitter, or my email, SeanCleary@gmail.com.
And you can find me at Brian Spellman on Twitter. It's BryanSpellman. And, of course, at BrianSpellman@gmail.com.
All
I think that's what we got for Scout Nation this episode. Take her away, Scott.
All right, Brad. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. Get on the Scout Nation Fit Club, and we look forward to seeing you down the running trail. Have a great scouting week.
Take care.
Good night.